Bob, you're up on deck, sir. Get
Okay.
me out.
All right. Hi, guys. Yep. I just wanted to show you how I did this. So I do have a little video because this takes several days to do, and I didn't want to put y'all through the pain of that. So I'm going to show a little video of it. These are easy to do, and to me, they're kind of, even though it takes a while, they're kind of satisfying, and it's not like I don't like to do little tedious stuff, but this wasn't too bad. You know, you get in the zone of just making the dots, and you find a pattern, and you go and do all those patterns all over it, and then come back and do another pattern. But so it's not that hard to do. And let me get this video started. Let's see if I can share that screen, and maybe this one right here. Yeah, share. I don't know. There we go. All right. Let me see if I can get the volume up.
It's Bob Grinstead.
Can y'all hear that or not?
How I do a basket illusion.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not real good at ideas, so I get most of mine off of Pinterest, or maybe some of those other websites out there. But anyway, I find something that I like, and then I kind of dissect it and figure out how I can do it. I'll show you the picture of the one that I'm going to do today. This one here is off of Pinterest. It was David Nittman, I believe, is the guy that made this one. But I liked it. I like the looks of it, the size of it, the colors. And here is where I've dissected it out. I think it's 192 segments around, and then I guess our columns, and then the rows, I think there's about 32 rows, but it's a two-piece vessel. It has an inside and an outside, and you make it in two parts and put it together. But, let me get started here, and I'll show you how what I do. All right, so I have two blocks of wood here. These are probably 8 inches, about 8 inches square, and almost about 1 3/4 thick. This little bowl, I guess, is a shallow bowl that you're going to look into or look inside of, and so I don't want it real thick. And I've kind of drawn out here, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I've kind of drawn out what the shape that I want it to look like. And I made a template that I can use to gauge it when I'm cutting these out. So I mark them off, find the center, either a center finder. Depends on what I'm doing. Sometimes I use this, sometimes I use a compass, but however you want to do it. But you find the center of it, mark it out, mark the biggest portion that you can get out of these things. And then I'm going to take it over to the bandsaw and cut the corners off. So let me go do that. All right, so I've got the corners cut off, so it's easier to turn, get it started turning. I also took put an 1/8 inch Bosner bit and made a mortise on here so I can hold it. You have to do it on both sides because I want to line it up. I want to double side tape this thing, tape it together, and line them up and turn them. So get them round first, and then make your taper on the edges, where he makes the bowl look. Then once you do that, then you can pull them apart and work on the two halves. Decide which one you want as the top and the bottom. And the bottom is going to be a solid bottom, but it's going to be, of course, dished out and beaded. Then I want to put a little rosette in the middle of it with a, what do you But anyway, that's how I get started. All right, so I have it double-sided taped together, and so they'll stay together, and then I can round it off and come back and actually shape this thing. You know, I have my little pattern I can put up here. I want it narrower than this. I don't want it a true about 4 inches or 3.5 inches. I don't want that bowl that deep, I don't think. I'm trying to guess what I want. I want a little hole, maybe a 2-inch hole on this end, maybe a little bigger, that you can actually look down in it and see the bottom of the bowl, the bottom of this vessel. But I don't want it. I don't want it very deep or very deep in here. I want to be able to see the bottom. I don't want them to have to guess at it, and so I'm going to actually bring this down a little bit on the sides, maybe another 1/4 inch on each side, make it a little shallower, and then just taper it out to the end out here. Come back and sand it. I'll come back, and after I get it done, I'll come back and sand it and finish the, not finish, but get the outside pretty smooth. And so I can come back and cut the walls on the inside of each piece and make them, I don't know, maybe a 3/8 of an inch thick to start with. But I've got to bead the inside and bead the outside, but one of them of the base. But anyway, let me do that, and I'll show you what's next. All right, I have the 2 halves turned. They both look like this one. I don't know if you'd see it, but yep, they look like this one. Here's my mortise in here that I turned it on. I did take it down like a 1/4 inch, make it thinner, and tapered it out. So they both look about like, if you set them up here together, then they look symmetrical. Going across here, they look about the same. I did practice or play with the colors a little bit. I don't know if you can see this or not, but here are the colors. And the pen I'm using is a micro crop or micro crown or something, micron, that's what it is, MICRON pen. But it's supposed to last, so I hope it does. This color, they call it pink. And you see the red tip on it? Well, it doesn't say pink, it says PN number 19. And it looks red, but it's not. It's actually orange. It's this 19 I have on here. The one that actually looks red, I guess they all depend on what your base color of the wood is, because they do change colors. This one looks pink, but when you put it on the wood, it's actually red. This is a number 21. It's actually a darker red, and that's what I'm going to use, the darker red. I experimented a little bit with either putting a sealer on it. This side has a sealer, this side doesn't. I think it looks better without the sealer, only because the ink covers better. You don't have little splotches of white in it. It actually covers a little better, soaks in better probably. So that's what I'm going to do, is no sealer on it. Get it all beaded and ready to go, and then use the colors on it. So now I'm just ready to turn them out. I can put this in here and turn this thing, scoop it out, and make a bowl out of it. So it's going to be like a shallow bowl. And I get the 2 halves done, completed. Then I'll make sure these edges are completely smooth. Come back and sand them, make sure they're exactly flat, and then glue the 2 halves together. And again, use this as a pressure block and glue them together. Tail stock versus the this. Both of them will still have the tendon on them. The bottom, like I said before, is all going to be scooped out and a little rosette in it. The top, I'm not going to put a hole in it until after I get the halves together and get everything lined up, and then I can drill this hole that I want on this end.
I use Telsock support for everything. Anything that I can use it on, I'm going to. I just think it's easier to do. And I can take it down to a little tenon like I show here, and then come back and rub that tenon out, turn it out. But anyway, that's how I do it. This portion of the bowl is ready to go. You can see the side of it. So the other half is going to look just like this. Same taper to it. And come back and finish the outside later. But right now, I just need to take the tenon out in the middle and sand it down. And then this portion will be ready to go. All right, I need to make a beading tool, 1/8 inch. I already have some that 3/16 and 1/4, and they work great. You don't use them a whole lot, so there's not a whole lot to sharpen. They don't get dull that often. So anyway, so I'm going to make it tonight today or whatever. I'm going to make it out of this little 3/16 inch material here. Let me find something to hold up behind it. But it's just 3/16 by 1/2 inch material, and probably about 5 inches, 6 inches long. Doesn't have to be real long. You could make this out of a screwdriver. Just take you a screwdriver and flatten a spot where you can drill through it, an 1/8 inch bit, and grind it down to where you can cut off the edge of your hole that you have in here. And it makes a great beading tool. And this already, if you get a screwdriver, you've already got a handle.
This one, I'm gonna go ahead and make a handle out of this. This was a piece of something else I had. And anyway, I've got a ferrule that I'm gonna put on the end of it and I'll make a little handle for it. So it'll work out fine. All right, so the first thing I did was to make a little flat spot so the bit doesn't try to roll everywhere, try to squirt over and bend. The other thing that I have here, and I'm not sure what they're called, but it's like a starter bit. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's just it has a little bitty bit, maybe 3/16 of an inch long, and then with a bigger shaft so it won't bend on you. So let me drill that hole and get that started first, and then we can go from there. Okay, so I have a little starter hole in here. So now I can drill my 1/8 inch hole that I really need, because I want an 1/8 inch bead. I'm trying to hit the center of this. It looks like it's off a little bit. No, I guess it depends on where the light is. So let me try that. If not, then we'll make another one. I've got plenty of stock here to do it with. So let me do that. Okay, you need some type of lubricant on your bits if you're drilling metal. Could be nearly anything, but I like PAM. PAM doesn't burn. You just want to go slow. With too much pressure on it, you will break the bit.
This is a recording.
When you come out the other side, the skin on the outside of any metal is tougher than the inside. Okay, that's it. That's all we got to do for drilling. The hole is off, but we don't care. And we're never going to get down to that anyway. You're only looking at one surface at a time, and your cutting deal is going to be right here. So it'll take a long time for me to get down to where it's a problem. So now all I got to do is to grind half of this drill bit away, where that hole, drill half of that hole away, and then shape the edges in to where it feathers up to that drill bit. And I'll have a bead, an 1/8 inch beading tool. that. I'm not sure you can see it. Not quite in yet. Okay, so that's almost it. I just got to clean that out with the fire. There's a little bit. 18. So here is the finished tool. It turned out fine. A little 1/8" beading tool. But, the little handle went in there great. I put a ferrule on it and epoxied it in. And so this thing will work fine. It looks good. I don't know if you can see it or not. Maybe you can see the tip. But anyway, there it is. All right, here is the bottom finished. And of course, I turn half at a time, but here's the bottom that's finished. And it turned out pretty good. I have a couple of coats of not lacquer, it's that Krylon clear on here. Anyway, I think it's finished and done. I taped off the edges so that when I sprayed it, I wouldn't get the finish up on the edge. This is where it's going to glue the two halves together. There is the bottom. Okay, I've got the two halves tied together, glued together. Used that tight bond quick and thick. I could have used anything, but anyway, that's what I did use. It dries clear. Here it doesn't matter so much because that bead's going to be right in that center line, that glue line. Then I'm just going to bead both sides of it, top and bottom, and turn out the tenons that you see here, the mortises, and go ahead and start beading this thing. Yeah, I ground a flat spot off the tool. It will sit better up here. Get it from rocking some up. Okay, I have finished beading, everything on both sides. And I went ahead and turned this out. It's 2 1/8 inch diameter. And then I had to come back and hollow this just a little more right here to the lip, because it was still too thick. But anyway, now it's all like, you know, less than 1/4 inch all the way back in. So that turned out fine. The beading tool I made, you know, it looked good. Nice little handle on it, but it didn't work well. So I went back and made another one. It's too easy to turn it, get a catch and turn it. It also got too hot. There's not enough metal in here to keep it from getting warm. So, but it was easy to rock it back and forth. So I went ahead and made another one. This was out of 1/2 inch stock. It's just, again, the same thing. I drilled a drill bit through here, 1/8 inch drill bit, and then ground it off to where it's made a little cutter for a little beater. But this one worked really well. It never got hot. So much with heat, it had a mass here that you don't feel it, and it's sure not going to twist up. So this worked a whole lot better. Anyway, so that's what my others are made out of. It's just like this, the 1/4 and the 3/16. But anyway, now I'm ready to beat it. To burn it. We'll have an index wheel set up on here. I'm going to put 192 columns or whatever you want to call them through here, burn through here. So this little jig I've got is so I can move my burning tool around it on both sides. Burn it and then come back and do that. So let me do that for you just a second. So this one I've got set on, I have a razor tip burner and it's set on about 9. But let me go ahead and burn a couple of rows here so you can see what it does. It really doesn't take that long to burn it. The biggest problem is that it's 192 of them. So I'm not sure if I want to do that or not, so I'm going to leave that one alone. I might come back and do something fancier there, but for right now, I'm just going to leave it alone. Well, now that I got that one done, I can move it down one little notch and burn the next row. Like I said, this is not hard. It's just the fact that you have to do 192 of it. All right, so that's what I do. I just keep going. Normally, when you get all these burned in here, or even before, you know, once it's beaded, then most of the time on these basket illusions, they come back and they burn either with a wire, depending on the area. Like this here is flat enough, I could burn 3 or 4 of them with a wire, but they really need to burn and darken every one of these rows. You come back and darken these on the side, you can use a set of playing cards, put 2 or 3 of them together and just set the playing cards in the crack while it's turning, and it will actually burn in here. And that works pretty good. But I'm not going to do that. I don't want it that dark. When you do that, down here it gets almost black because you have too much of the burn everywhere when it gets real close together. Okay, I did want to show y'all one other thing here. There's just a very little slop in this, not much, but just a little bit of a wobble. So what I've done to try to eliminate that and try to make sure that they're all the same, I put a string around it with a weight on it so it pulls constant tension down one direction. So every time I lock it in, it tries to pull it back to that same spot again, just to keep keep the lines a little more consistent. I don't know if you can see the weight down there. There's not a whole lot of weight, but anyway, just trying to keep the burns consistent. There's my index wheel and the deal that holds it. It could be anything. Even this little block. That's not much either. It's just something to hold the tool, and so you don't have to hold it. The tip I use is a little I don't know what they call it, but anyway, it's flat and kind of a spade shaped thing. All right, so the bottom is, not everything is burnt now, and I have sanded it lightly just to get some of the smoke off, and then came back and bleached it out, trying to get the original color back. It's still not exactly the same color because that smoke goes everywhere, and it leaves a lot of residue, but it looks pretty good. But anyway, now I'm going to just go ahead and turn this mortise off here, this recess off, and get that down. So I've got a ½ inch in here that I can cut off, so I can cut off quite a bit of this and get it down, and then put some type of a design in the bottom of it. All right, so now I've got it all done here. But all I have to do now is just color in the dots. So it's not hard, it's just time consuming. But it's not hard at all. And again, I'm using these little micron pens. And this one happens to be purple, but as you can see, it's going on awful dark here. It almost looks black, but it's supposed to be purple. But the first thing I do, when I dissected this thing, I told you that I print this out and figure out how many columns, how many rows. But then I lay it out on graph paper, trying to see where the colors really are. And this one here has got lots of mistakes in it, but that's okay. I've got enough here where I can see the pattern going across here. So it's a red and a purple, and then a red and a purple, red and a purple. And the same way this direction, it varies depending on which line it's in. But anyway, that's it. That's how I do it. I'm just going to keep going around here till I get it finished. But it's looking pretty good. All right, so I have finished it. You can see the inside or not. It could have been a little shallower, not quite as tall of a bowl, as thick of a vessel. Then I could see the inside a little better. This one is kind of hard to see the inside, only because of the shadows. But I did. It is finished. It has that Krylar on it to give it some shine. I like a shiny vessel, and you can see where I finished the bottom with some texturing tools here. I could have gone ahead and beaded it all the way, but then I wouldn't have any place to sign it, so I just left it where I turned it off. And as you can see, I didn't make it as dark as the other one was. You know, see how these sides get awful dark, and they look pretty dark, but it sure makes the vessel dark. So I lightened it up a little bit. I didn't put as much of the purple or the dark looking stuff on here, which was the purple color. But anyway, I think it turned out pretty good. I guess that's about it. You know, the beads are real pretty. So let me show you another picture. Yeah, hi guys. I'm this is Bob Grinstead.
Yeah, let's see. How do you get that share off here? Huh? How about that? Okay.
That was a great demo, Bob.
All right. Well, thanks.
Very good
Nice
demo.
touch. Nice touch showing how to make a tool.
Yeah. I like to make any tool I can, and that one's real easy to make. And it doesn't get dull very often. If you do, you just grind the top of it or anyway, about the top of it off again.
That was really great, really great. I like the way your color system made it like 3D.
Yeah. But
Yeah, it's beautiful, Bob.
good.
Just a beautiful piece.
I think it turned out real good. I'm happy with it, and
Very nice.
I might do another. Boy, that one's really hard on your eyes. You know, that took off.
That's a pretty face.
Yeah.
Is. What was the size again on that?
It's probably about 8 inches, you know, nearly 9 inches, and probably about 3 inches thick or something. It's not, you know, again, it's not, it's about 2.5 inches thick. Like I said, I should have made it shallower. Then you could see the inside easier. You know, right now you can't. You can see it if the light's shining right, but there's too much shadow to actually see that inside. But I'm not going to do another one like this. If I do it, it'll be a different design or a different something. But this turned out real pretty.
Yes, it
Yeah, it
did.
did. There was a question earlier where they were asking what kind of wood it was.
It was maple.
Maple.
I don't know if it was hard or not, but it's just a piece of maple that I had.
Yeah. White maple. Yep.
Yeah, white maple. Mhm.
Hey, Bob,
Needed
how
white.
do you get that design to come out perfect in the end with all those segments?
Well, you know, you've got to work your design out to where it'll fit within the 192 columns that you have.
Oh, is that what you're basing on? 192 blocks?
Yeah, that's what I did, because I did 192 burns around this thing,
Okay.
you know, around the sides of it. So then you work your pattern out to where it's any multiple, it'll go into an even number, into 192.
How did you know the 192 was going to be the magic number?
Well, you don't really. I mean, you're making your pattern. You know that you're going to start with close to 190. You don't want, real wide segments out here.
Okay.
They get closer together in the center, but the outside, if it was, let's say it was only 100, instead of being, so it's almost half it. So instead of an eighth of an inch, there would be like a quarter of an inch segment out here. And I wanted the small little dots rather than quarter-inch dots or 3/16 inch dots at the largest portion. So then when you lay your pattern out, I don't know if I have it here. So many others that I've been, looking at, working on, thinking about doing. But when you lay your pattern out, you start counting. You say, okay, well, if it takes so many, let's say it's 12 or whatever it is between these, right? To get from one side of this pattern to the other side, then can I divide that into 192? So that's what you have to do, is figure out your pattern, how many times it can go around here and still make 192.
There's a couple of numbers in that range that work real well. So 192 is one of those numbers. If you want the blocks twice as big, then you have that 96. But really, what Bob's talking about is exactly right. You want them up in the 176 to 192 range to get good segments.
Yeah, let me show you another example here. All right, actually, I got two more examples I can show you. That one right there was 1/8 inch pieces, right? So when you look at the top of this, they're about 1/8 of an inch wide, each one of these little blocks. This one right here at the largest point, that's probably that's 3/16. It's about a square because it's only a 3/16 inch bead. So these are about a square here. And so you have to figure out how many times going around here, whether it's 192, I've forgotten what this one was, but however many can go around here, and how wide this bead is going to be at your biggest point. You don't worry about the little points down here. When it gets real tight, sometimes they don't even do every one. They do every other one. They burn every other one when it gets real close down here. And you just change your pattern to match whatever you burn in here. This one here is a 1/4 inch bead. And you can see that, what is that thing? That's probably 5 inches or something. Yeah, it's probably about a 5 inch vessel. And this bead is, maybe 3/8 of an inch. Yeah, it's not quite 3/8. It's 5/16 or something. But anyway, you have to work your pattern out to see how, and the number of segments you put on here has to end up being, you base that basically on how wide you want this widest bead. The biggest size of the outside of the vessel, the biggest part, is going to end up being how wide of a bead.
So you skip every 3 holes or something?
Yeah, on your index wheel, you're going to skip holes. If you say it's a 66 hole ring. I mean, when you look at an index wheel, there's like 4 rows of holes on it, and each hole has a certain number of holes in it. Mine, the outside, the largest one I could get, has the most number is 192. So that's what I use. But let's say that I wanted to take multiples of anything that I could divide into the 92, then you would move it over, instead of, you would skip holes to make these lines. So it's, I don't know, let's say that I'm going to skip 3 holes just to get to this next line. Skip 3 more holes and get to the next line. 3 more holes to get to the next line. That's just working with an index wheel. It's easy to do. If you get an index wheel, you'll see it and kind of understand it. I didn't bring one in here to show you, but it's all easy to do. It's not something that's hard to multiply or hard to figure out. But anyway, these are three examples. This one right here is 1/4" beads. This one here is 3/16" beads. And then this one here is the 1/8" beads. And I wanted the look of the smaller beads on this one. So my outside, the largest bead I've got here is about 1/8 of an inch square. And that's basically what I did on all these. This 3/16 it's almost a 3/16 inch square bead on the largest portion. Now this one here is not. This one was a 1/4 inch bead, and I've got it wider than a 1/4 of an inch. So it's all just a designer's choice as to what you want, you know. But some of this wood, like this one here, I don't know if you can see it or not. Let me turn this other light on. You know, some of this wood would have been, you know, real pretty wood because it's spalted all in its own right. But I wanted to color it, and that's the type of wood I had. You know, that's what I had around. But anyway, that's it. They're not hard to do. It's just it might be a little time consuming, but you know, you can go through a box, you can go through a little bowl, you can go through a lot of things real quick. And I get tired of that. I get tired of turning out a bowl, you know, for after it's already roughed out and just ready to turn. You know, you can turn it out in a couple of hours and it'd be finished, you know, where you put a Farfex finish on it or something and it's done. Well, this takes longer. It takes a little more time to slow down and think about it, or to think about other things while you're doing it. This you can't really watch TV and do because you're going to get off. You're going to make a mistake.
It'll take a lot more brain work.
Yes, it does. You got to think about it a little more. But even if you do make a mistake, you can sit here and sand that little portion out. Let's say that I got this bead colored wrong. I can sand that back out to where it's clear again. Or if it's red, I can go ahead and color it black, and nobody's ever going to know the difference that it's, you know, that was red underneath that black. So you can make mistakes, and I've made mistakes on this one, but you can't see them because you come back and you sand that little spot away. I take a little Dremel tool with a little bitty burr on it, like a round burr, and do it. Some people sand it out, you know, with even scrape it out with a like a razor blade or something, and scrape the stuff off of it because it's just on the top. It's not like it's a dye where he really soaks deep into the wood, you know. All of the coloring in those little ink pens are right on the top. It doesn't soak.
What did you call that finish you put on that?
This is Krylar, the thick, was it? I think it's 3X or something. It's a thick coat. So this has like 3 coats on it. It goes on real thick and dries quick. And once it dries, it's not like lacquer. I don't like lacquer because once I make something and I spray it with lacquer, if I get it on the bottom and say 2 weeks later, I know it's still going to be wet, but let's say I let it dry for 2 weeks and I set it down on a smooth, flat surface like this piece of plastic I got in here, or a countertop or something, or a piece of glass, and you go to move it, well, it sticks. But it does to me anyway. It always sticks. So it's not like this really didn't get dry yet. Well, the Krylar don't have that problem with it. You know, it does take a couple of days to fully cure out, but after that, it doesn't stick to anything.
You're talking about Krylon, right?
Yeah, I think it's Krylon. You're right, Krylon. But you get it at Lowe's or even Walmart. Walmart sells that all the time, or they used to. I don't know. Maybe they've stopped selling it, but they used to sell it. And
They call it triple thick now.
Okay, all right, yeah, triple thick. That's what I get. That's what I get. And that's what I like. It's almost like I say a plastic finish, maybe not, but it is it's a hard, clear finish, and it goes on thick coats, so it does cover real well. but I enjoy that. But that's like segmented stuff. You know, this one here, I really don't like to hollow. I've made several things that I've hollowed, and I've got one I'm working on now that's about like this, and it's hot, and I hollowed it out, but I really don't like to hollow things. So like this vase right here, this is made out of a 2-6 pine, and it's segmented. So it's I don't know if you can see it, but it is a segmented vessel, and it's easier to me to hollow it out as it goes with a segmented vessel, and make them where it's easier to do.
That's what I do.
Yeah, I like that a whole lot better than trying to hollow things. I do have you know, different hollowing jigs, and I've made different things, and I still don't like to hollow. I'm sorry.
Bob, where do you start the pattern? I like that vase thing, or on that. Yeah, where do you start, and how do you develop it?
Well, you know, when you're laying out the paperwork, let me see if it's here. Let me see if it's still in here someplace. I know it is. It's just finding it. But you know, I keep looking at different patterns everywhere. But just like this one here, you know, they developed a pattern, and you just start wherever you want to, and either copy this or come up with your own pattern. You know, like he's got probably what, 10 or 12 of this black line going across here. And then he had, you know, maybe 4 or 5, and then 4 or 5 all black, and then he started the pattern again.
But you work from the outside toward the inside. You don't do one ring all the way around or something. And
No. You know, once I figure out what it's going to look like, then yes, I work from the outside in, because it's easier to do the larger ones.
yeah,
Down here in the middle, and you're working on little bitty dots. You know, besides that, when you get down here, you might realize, whoa, that's too close together, and don't do them. You know, and that's
Yeah,
basically
notice that one he's holding up. Show that picture again. The one you're holding up. Notice how he gets near the middle there, and the pattern changes. You can see there's at least 2 pattern shifts there.
right. See, the pattern changed on it, and that's what I did on the one that this one right here. I changed that pattern because I thought it got too close together and it got too dark. So I didn't want this diamond back down in here again where it's all dark, because it really makes it dark when it gets real close together.
so there's some free, you're not just going with a pattern, there's some free.
Yes, there you have the ability to change that pattern anytime you want.
You must be totally quiet for a week.
No, it's not that, but now it probably took me 5 days to do this. I mean, to the dots on this thing. I mean, there's 13,000 dots here. So it took me 5 days to do it. But it's not that bad. You know, it's kind of like, and I don't like to carve either, because I don't like to sit here and just do the same thing. But this wasn't so bad. You kind of get in the zone, and you say, okay, well, I got 6 reds, and then I come down 2, and I got 6 more reds, or you know, and then I have 2, and then I have 6 more reds. So you take it and you start making the largest portion of this you can do of a largest strip, like this right here. These are large strips coming across here. And you can put those in first, and then come back and fill in all the little bitty stuff that you really have to count. You know, it's all doable. It's just figuring out how to do it and how you can do it, how you want to do it.
That is awesome.
Thanks. You know, like here, I've changed the pattern several times going across here. You know, this pattern, and then that one there's a little different. That one's probably even different from, I think there was like 3 across here. Yeah, see here's one, had a white in the middle, had 1 red, white, and I got a black around this one. And then he starts repeating itself again. So here's the 1 dot, here's the black, here's the red with the 1 dot. And you just repeat some pattern that you just repeat going across it. But
Cool.
this one here, you know, you can see the patterns. So you find one, you start doing your pattern. So so you come across here and go up, and you go over 3, and you come down, and you go over 3, you come up, and you do this panel all at one time. So you can realize where you're at and what you're doing. You don't try to jump from here to here to here to here and go all the way around this vessel. You try to do one pattern at a time. And then you come over here and you do a pattern, like you put these in, and they're all in at the same spot based on this other pattern.
Mhm.
And
then-
to make sure that you don't like screw up, so you get half a pattern and you run out of room for it, you just make sure that the total pattern you're doing is one of the factors. Like 192 can be evenly divided by, say, 24. So
Yeah,
if you've got 4 sections of, however many sections of 24, you can evenly get them all in and have them all terminate correctly.
That's right. And the other thing that helps too is don't color the whole dot. If you want to lay them out here, just put this black. This one here was black and white. So put a black on here, put a black dot, a black dot, a black dot, and do the dots inside of them. So if you screw up, you've only got to erase the dot. You don't have to erase the whole segment. You're only going to erase the dot on the one you messed up on.
And you can come back and fill in the whole segment.
Yeah, then you can come back and fill in the whole segment after you get your pattern out here and you get where it looks right, it looks like you got it right. Then you can come back and fill those in to where you filled in that whole square.
There's not so much brain work then.
Yeah, it's not so much brain work, and if you did get off, you're only going to erase the little bit of the dot that you put in the middle of the segment instead of having to erase this whole black thing.
Yeah, good point.
Even this one, I've got mistakes on this one, but you can't see them.
Great demonstration, Bob. Very much appreciated. We learned how to not only do the work, but to build the tool, which is a handy way to go.
Okay, all right, good.
Thanks
Bob.
again, Bob. Great
Sure.
visiting with you tonight.